Your cloud limit has nothing to do with how much you're asking or how much you're building. Right now, more people are hitting their cloud limits more than ever. And the thing is, nobody's actually showing you what is happening on the back end when you do. It's not about how complex your project is. It's not about how much you're producing. It comes down to a handful of habits. Once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them. These small switches will make a massive difference. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to never hit your cloud limit. Let's go ahead and dive into the video. Let's go ahead and go to the first lesson out of 4 of them. Lesson 1, input versus output. The majority of cloud limits are being hit right now because of input, not output. Most people thinking they're hitting their limit because they're asking too many questions, they're producing too many dashboards. Anything that Claude generates is considered an output. An input is completely different. So input is anything that I'm giving into Claude. So every single time I'm having a conversation with it, it costs a token, right? Input is a completely different story. Think about it in this way. Imagine working with an assistant who has no memory between exchanges. Every single time you ask them to do something, they have to reread the full transcript, every single conversation you ever loaded out. Everything they said, everything from the beginning, every single time, that's exactly what Claude does. It rereads the full conversations before it gives you that output. Every time it does that, it builds a compounding cost per token. We can see that in the graph. We can see that we started 500 with our first line of text, and then it grows to 1.5, then 2.5, then 5, right? So then you're having a full conversation with Claude. You're 20 minutes deep, it's costing you 15,000 tokens. And that's where majority of people are hitting their limits because of this compounding cost. Every message that you send out, Claude rereads the entire conversation from the beginning. So on your 30th message, it's 31 times as more expensive than it was at the beginning. 30 messages, it's at 250,000 per token. Is your single session length is your single biggest cost lever that is costing you all these tokens. Before you even start a conversation with Claude, there's between 8,000 and 62,000 tokens being used before you even type a simple word. So context isn't just your latest message, it's everything that it sees at the same time. Think of it, your conversation, your system prompt, your MCP, every skill that you loaded up into the project, all your context files, every tool you called and its output, which is also eating up all your tokens. Now, the best way to see this, go ahead and do /context. It's going to go ahead and give you everything it pulls before we even start. Doing this, you can go ahead and start organize what you need and what you don't need. Go ahead and take out whatever you don't need and you're not really using. And then that's also going to give you more tokens just by doing this one single hack. Now that we're in context 3, we're talking about context raw, right? The more that you're chatting with it, the more that it feels like it's dementia. Look at these 4 pillars here. We got 0 to 20%. It's at its prime time. It's giving you this good feedback. It's giving you those answers that you really were looking for. Then we can see we're going back to the 20 to 60%. Minor inconsistencies. It's slightly distracted, but still workable. It still feels like a great conversation with one of your teammates. 60 to 95%. This is rot zone. This is where dementia happens, right? This is where you're constantly telling it, hey, this is not what I wanted. Hey, let's go ahead and redo this. This is where the frustration happens. And then 95%, this is where typically everyone stays at, right? They're continuously trying to give it more input, right? Trying to fix what it made. This is where the model does its worst at. So the output quality drops as a conversation goes on. The reason for that is because a conversation, it has to reread everything. So it has the bad data, the good data, and it's costing you for something that you really didn't want. Cool, so now we're gonna go into how to actually solve that. There's 5 choices that you can do, and I'll tell you my favorite one at the end. The 5 different choices that you should be doing with your conversations. First one, which is the trap. People are just continuing with the conversation over and over again. They're trying to reprompt it, trying to get it perfect, and they're realizing, hey, Claude is either dumb or just has dementia, right? Going back to that point. But the thing out with Claude is just that they're compounding on bad and good data. So you're really not going to have an effective session if you're not doing these tips. The first one is going to be /rewind, which is Anthropic's favorite one. So /rewind, it jumps back to any previous message and it wipes out. So let's go ahead and say I was having a conversation. It built the wrong dashboard the wrong way. I can go ahead and do /rewind. It's going to clear that context and it's going to restart from that previous prompt. And I can go ahead and add to that, right? So now that we don't have that bad data, it can go ahead and build on top of itself. And that is what we call compounding. And that's the one I'm personally using every single time. The next one is going to be which is slash clear is going to be as it says, right? It's clearing the full chat and it's starting new. You do want to do this frequently because you don't want to continually just compounding over and over. Even with slash rewind and everything, you want to continuously also clear, so you're wasting less tokens. The next one is going to be slash compact. It's going to give you a summary of the conversation, so you can then pick it off somewhere else, or you can do slash clear, right? You do slash compact. You take that data, then you start a new session, or you do slash clear. Now that session understands what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve with better context, right? It's new, it's fresh, and it's going to cost you less tokens, and it's going to give you better output. So think of sub agent using the lowest model and then having other agents be able to come in and help that singular model, and then use Opus 4.7 and actually get the task done. So what it's doing is that you're not using the best model for very low end stuff. The best framework that I recommend you use is the 120K rule, which I learned from Nate. When you cross 120 tokens, you go ahead and ask for a summary. You then copy that output, then do slash clear, paste, and continue, right? So it's super easy. You continuously monitor your session. You want to do slash context, and then it gives you the token usage of the actual conversation. Then once you're done with that, you do ask for a summary. When it gives you that summary, you copy that output to either a new session, or you go ahead and do in the same session, do slash clear, and it starts a new slate. And then you just go ahead and paste and continue. It's as easy as that. You just have to monitor your input. So continuously always ask slash context to get the amount of tokens you're actually using. So another thing that I also recommend you do, the goal is to automate everything. So you can go ahead and build a skill around the actual conversation, where it started, decisions that you logged in, what is shipped, key files in the next session, running slate, verification, open questions, pick up from where you started. So what this is doing is all you have to do is one slash command, and it automatically gives you the right context for the next session, which is going to be way better than just giving me a summary, because a lot of the times it will leave things that you wanted in that next session. So building a skill around this is going to give you more of an effective output when you start that next session. If you want me to go ahead and give you that skill, go ahead and drop skill down below, and I'll go ahead and send that to you. These are 8 things that you should start doing to not hit your Claude limit. The first one is going to watch your session limit. I did build a token dashboard that's going to give me all the data that I need to see. We can see our sessions, our turns, our output. If you don't know what any of these mean, you can go ahead and click here to switch. It'll give you all the responses for them. It'll tell you what it is. Go ahead, you can go ahead and read that. My daily workflow, my catchy, and then what's actually eating up my tokens. If we scroll down, we're going to go ahead and see that we see tokens by project, tokens by usage of model. Now, models I'm actually using more compared to the other ones like Opus 4.7, so forth and so forth. We can see tokens by project, what's actually eating up my data. On the bottom, we can see the tools I'm actually using that's also eating my data. We can see my recent session, my prompts that I'm using, our projects, or we can see everything here that's eating up our tokens, and how to build better habits around saving them. The next thing is going to be converting everything to markdown files, HTML files, PDFs. Just the way that they're produced are going to eat a lot of your context window, a lot more tokens. If you go ahead and convert everything to HTML files, this is going to be one of the biggest game changers. We see that here. Docs is going to be 67%, PDFs are 33% compared to HTML, which is 10%, right? That's a big old difference. You're saving 90% more having an HTML file. Now the next one is going to be slash, by the way, BTW. These are side questions that cause zero context. This is also something you can do just to ask questions when you're actually trying to build something out. The next thing is always starting in plan mode, right? You don't want to go ahead and just ship and have it build it. Always plan it. You want to go ahead and plan it first, so Claude can understand what you're actually trying to build. And then once you have that full project down, you can go ahead and ask it to build it. And then now you're eating up less tokens building something that you didn't want. You can also build a Claude MD file that is around discipline on token usage. And then we got the token dashboard as well, with outputs that cost more. So the biggest myth is that everyone is trying to get everything done in one session. The best way to do it is splitting it amongst 3 sessions. We can have the discovery phase, the planning, and the execution. And then you pretty much do that same thing that we were talking about earlier about shipping it off per conversation. You think of bringing it over into each session. And then that last session is execution with better context. So we're pretty much at the end of this video. If this helped you, drop a like and subscribe. I make these AI tutorials every single week for people who actually want to use this stuff, not just watch it and just read about it, but build something